birthday, kids. What time is it?
And week number 10, gladly to be in the rearview mirror heading into week 11 because I did horrible last week.
Well,
The worst week I've had.
Still not as bad as my. What did I have? 3 wins one week.
No,
Was it
wasn't that?
3?
I think your worst was like what I almost did. I think it was like 5-10, and mine was like 5-9
Let's
or
see. I'm
something
going
like that.
back in my. You're right. It was 5-10.
Yeah, yeah. It was like the week I just had, basically. One less game. I know. I don't know. It's like, and it wasn't even like I was looking through the list of games and I was like, I still would have picked a lot of these the same way going back. I have almost no, not some regrets, but not a lot of regrets. It's like I still would have picked the same way. So I don't know what's happening with the NFL.
Yeah, well, we're getting into the murk of the middle of the season. Now is where the injuries and the fatigue and the bye weeks and all this kind of stuff starts factoring in. So
And people catching up to other people's plans, and everybody starts like everybody people on the teams on the top and the bottom, they kind of start shrinking into the what is that called? The NFL is always like making everybody equal. I
yeah, the
forgot
the
the term.
parity.
Yeah, yeah. This is
Yeah,
definitely right this way, and usually around week 12 and 13, you start seeing some separation from some of the
again,
teams.
yeah, yep. It's very strange. It's very unpredictable. 2 weeks ago I was 7 games behind you
Yep.
because of my horrible picking, and now I'm after this week I caught back up. I'm only 3 down now,
Yeah, yeah. I know it's gonna happen.
and we got what 8 weeks to go.
Eight weeks. Yep.
Yeah, so it's anybody's game. It's gonna end up like last year. We'll be like separated by 1 pick at the end. After all that and all the angst and all the all the
Yeah.
misgivings and yeah.
I
Um,
know it's I'm like kind of like in this dichotomy thing. It's like I know the season goes by fast, and it is going by very fast. And at the other hand, I'm like, oh, I just can't wait till I see how it all like comes out. It's like I'm kind of like caught between like wanting to know how it's going to end, but I want to slow it down too because I don't want it to be end. I don't know.
yeah, I'm the same way. I'm kind of the same way. I'm like, I wonder how this is going to resolve
Yeah,
itself. I just want to see how this ends. We'll be there soon enough.
I
I mean,
know.
we're picking week 11 today,
Yep.
and we're a week from Thanksgiving, and wow, it's just crazy. It's the
I think
shortest of the major sports. It's the shortest season. It's
yeah,
only 4
yeah.
months.
I saw this. I didn't like do the homework, but I saw the stat where it's like as of this past week, there's only 5 teams that are more than one game away from a playoff spot. You can believe that. Only
Yeah, and
five.
we'll
That's
take a look at that
unbelievable.
at the end again as
Yeah,
usual.
yeah.
But
I thought that was oh, wow. That's really
it's what the NFL wants. They want this kind
yes,
of
it is.
parity.
Yep, yep.
So um, we'll see. Real quick before we get into this week's stuff, I saw this just before we started doing this. Let me quickly share my screen. Trailer came out
Oh,
for an NFL related film. So I just wanted to put it up. It's called American Underdog, starring Zachary Levi as Kurt Warner,
oh, it's the Kurt Warner story.
Anna
Yeah, yeah.
Paquin as his wife Brenda, and Dennis Quaid. The old Dennis Quaid playing what's his face? Coach
Oh,
Vermeil, Dick
what was
Vermeil, Dick Vermeil.
wow.
So the
I'm
trailer
interested in that.
it dropped today. It's coming out Christmas. It's an NFL film. It looks schmaltzy as hell. But when you're making a story about Kurt Warner's life, it's so unbelievable. It has to be schmaltzy, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
Because who
remember
would believe
hearing
it?
about that story. It was unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's I'll go see it. It's a football movie, and it's I mean, it is a great story. The guy was bagging
I will
groceries.
go see. I remember I was playing fantasy football then with a group of work friends, and like the guy, everybody knew that the Rams offense was where you want to be, and the person who picked Trent Green was so pissed because he went down, and then Kurt Warner took over, and he didn't get a chance to pick him up, and it was like the whole thing was so lopsided.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, I don't know. We'll see. But
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
Yeah, it's a sports movie. I mean, that's the thing. When there's great stories in sports, like the Kurt Warner story, where a guy goes from grocery store clerk to Super Bowl MVP, how can you not make it schmaltzy? And sports movies have that. There's just nowhere to go. You're kind of boxed in when you make a sports movie, because when you're making the sports movie, it's usually an unbelievable story like that, like the Vince Papale story.
Yeah,
where he's a bartender and he decides to try out for the Eagles and makes it, right? So it's because it seems so fictional in reality, you're kind of penned in with your fiction, right?
Yeah,
you can only stretch it so far, and it just comes off as schmaltzy. But it's a perfect Christmas movie, though. It's a feel good family movie for Christmas. So.
Yeah, I remember for the longest time, I'm like, oh, they're exaggerating with that grocery store thing. There must be something. It's like, no. Oh my god.
Yeah. So real quick, because I forgot last week after we did all the math.
All the math.
Yeah.
This week. Math.
So this week I went 7-7, and ooh, you took one in the chops, 5-9.
Oh boy. Yeah.
And that brings our season cumulative total. You are 86-64, leading me by 3. I'm 83-67. Hot on your heels, so.
Yep. That's the way it was last year too.
Yeah.
I remember I got off to this big hot start at the beginning, by 5 or whatever, and we only did half the season, but by the end we were all even.
Right. So, anyway, is there anything you want to discuss before we get into our picks for the week?
It was just horrible. It was just every game I'm watching, I'm like, are you kidding me? It's like it wasn't even like where it was someone made him a comeback, or it was or last minute field goal or anything. I mean, these games were decided early on, a lot of them. Yeah, and I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, you're thinking. I'm guessing. Let me tap into your brain for a second. You're specifically thinking about the Patriots and the Browns.
Yep. I couldn't believe how bad that. I mean, I give the Patriots a lot of credit, but still, I thought it would be a lot closer. At least some competition, at least through the third quarter or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
that was bad.
I think the injuries are mounting now for Baker Mayfield, and it's just not. It's not going to end well, I don't think, for him.
Doesn't
not
look
this
like
year.
It.
So, anyway, I just want to point out too. Our friend Six sent in her picks again, and she went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 9 as well. So
okay.
So you're in good company.
All right, 6.
We'll just say I overachieved this week. We'll just call it at that.
Yeah, there you go.
So I guess we can just kind of talk about stuff that happened in Week 10 as we proceed into Week 11, if that works for you.
Yep.
Like we did last week. Since, some of these storylines are just not totally jumping off this.
I know. There wasn't a really compelling game or anything like that. It was just a lot of surprises, but not in a last minute fashion or anything like that.
Yeah. It's not like at the beginning of the year where we had there was a story per game, and we were trying to pick 5 of them to talk about or whatever. Now it's we're kind of struggling to find 5. So let's just go right ahead and get into Week 11 and see what happens, shall we?
Yep.
All right.
Trust me, I want to put Week 10 out of the way.
Week 11, our buys are only 2 teams. The Denver Broncos, which, by the way, I loved those pseudo-retro helmets they were wearing last week.
Oh, yeah.
They had the darker blue they have now, but they had the old-fashioned D with the horse jumping. Put those back on. I love those. It's better than their... I don't like their new logo that much. It's too aerospacey. And the Los Angeles Rams, who this was going to be one of my talking points this week.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's related. I'm not. It's just possibly
I
a
know.
galactic
I know what you're going to
coincidence.
say.
But
Let me tap into your
OBJ
mind.
sits his ass on their bench, and what? Whoa, hey, what happened?
That was one of the surprises too. Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't been there long enough to cause the problem yet, clearly.
Right.
But I do wonder. I mean, it not so much that you brought OBJ in, and we know he's a pill, and that's not going to end well either. But Von Miller also added to the team the week before, made his first start, and the team was all out of whack. And sometimes, and Von Miller's a great guy. It's not that he's a problem or anything, but sometimes it's that subtraction by addition. That team was humming on. They looked great, and they've overindulged, I think.
I think so too.
When you bring in too many great players, and you've got to find spots for all of them, and you throw off your timing and everything gets thrown out of whack.
Yeah.
They didn't need either one of these guys. They were already 6-1, 7-1 at this point. They didn't need these guys.
I totally
they got
agree
greedy. They got greedy, and I think they made a mistake, and this could cost them.
Yeah, I mean, I know they did. The loss of Robert Woods is big, but that doesn't mean you have to necessarily bring OBJ into it. You have other players on your team that were gelling in there. So
yeah, it just doesn't. It looks. I mean, that and yeah, I just these two guys made their first appearances in the whole. I mean, they didn't look good the week before either, but
yeah,
without those two guys. But
when I watching Stafford play, I'm like, wow, there's Mayfield when OBJ was there.
Right?
He was like lost. It's the first time I've seen him lost in this season. Jeez.
Well, there's that, and then we're also seeing now the Matthew Stafford's never had the pressure of a playoff run.
Yeah,
he really hasn't had to deal with the expectation of winning a championship. And now is the season. We're getting later in the year. He's had injuries like Robert Woods and things like this happen to him. And bringing OBJ in, and now the expectation to deliver him the ball. Like now, Matthew Stafford, the responsibility. It was all fun and games for the first half. Now let's see if he can really, bring his lunch pail to work and get the job done in the second half.
Yeah,
he
the pressure
has yet
is
to prove
mounting,
himself.
and and the NFC has a lot of teams that are just as competitive as they are. They're not clear above anybody anymore. So.
Right. Yeah, no, the NFC's loaded with powerhouse teams at the top. It's a very top-heavy conference where the AFC is kind of distributed evenly, we'll put it that way.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch. But you know me and my OBJ thing. I was just
we could mark this as like if it doesn't end well for them, we could always just come back to this.
Sean McVay.
Yeah.
If you're watching, because I know you are. Just ask my friend Kevin Stefanski, because he was a big fan and he finally listened to me about OBJ.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see what happens there. I can't stand diva wide receivers. Can't stand them. All right, let's get into the true Week 11, starting on Thursday night. Amazon Prime, NFL Network, and I think Fox. Is it Fox? Let me look real quick. Yes, Fox.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah. I thought they were supposed to rotate with CBS, but maybe not. I can't keep track of the TV contracts.
Yeah.
The 6-4 New England Patriots travel to Atlanta to take on the 4-5 Falcons in a rematch of Super Bowl. What was that? 51.
I know.
52. Yeah.
The
20. We'll just call it the 28-3 Super Bowl.
The 28-3. Yeah, the Patriots officially on the playoff run now. Wow. It's just. I know we talked at the beginning of the season how he was going to turn it, but geez, it seems to just everything fall into place. He's really gotten that defense, especially the defense, playing so well, and they're going to. I don't know. I after my recent picks, I'm loath to just say that so confident, but I see this like as a blowout for the Patriots on the Falcons. I don't think the Falcons can score against them, and Mac Jones is like we said, progressing week to week and just hitting like that game against the Browns. Where the heck was the Cleveland defense? He was hitting all his passes, like even when the receiver was double covered and everything. Wow, jeez.
he has nice touch on the ball. He's putting
Yeah.
it in the windows you have to put them in. He didn't throw for a lot. What was it, 195
That's
or
true.
194?
But yeah,
But 3 touchdown passes. He made the plays when he had to. Yeah, I'm not right about a lot of things, but I was right about OBJ. But
yeah,
and I have to give I'm happy with the fact that I saw the trend with the Patriots as far back as like week 3, even though they were still losing games. I could
right.
see the progression, and I can see what Bill Belichick was doing with Mac Jones. I could see the whole thing, and I've watched them get better and better to the point where now they're not just competitive. Now they're not just challenging for playoff spot. They're blowing out quality
Yeah,
opponent. They blew out a quality opponent. They
they certainly did.
You think back to the beginning of the season, Mac Jones looked as scared and lost as Zach Wilson did.
Yeah,
And look where he is now. He looks like he's been in the league 3 or 4 years already. And it's been 8, what are they, 6-4, 10 games.
yeah, 10 games.
10 games. Yeah. For Bill Belichick, I think that this sort of a redemption. If it continues on this trend, I mean, we still have a long way to
Right.
go. They have 7
I
more
know.
games to go. It looks like though that this they just keep raising the ceiling on this thing. And after last year, and for everything he accomplished in New England, to have people turn around and say it was all Tom Brady because Tom went to Tampa Bay and won a Super Bowl immediately with Gronk, right? That and Belichick missed the playoffs. To immediately just kind of dismiss everything he accomplished,
Right.
to me wasn't right. It was sad. I like
No.
Bill Belichick and I respect Bill Belichick, and I thought, for me, I'm happy he gets this redemption arc. That if he can now take this team, he rebuilt it in the offseason the way he wanted to.
Right.
You can
right.
tell he told Kraft, this is enough. Enough is enough. I need to fix this. And built them into what they are. And he has brought this quarterback along at a record pace. I mean, he didn't bring Brady along this quick.
Right. That's true.
Brady
Yeah.
was a game manager for a couple of years. Like, Mac Jones is almost already turning into, he, like I said, he looks like a veteran already. So it's been fun to watch. I'm happy for Belichick. I'd love to see him make the playoffs and ride this thing out. I don't think they're going to win a Super Bowl this year, but
Right.
it's a nice redemption story. And I was actually talking to a friend last night about this, that had Brady stayed in New England, this quick rebuild, or this forced quick rebuild, probably wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because you saw the pieces around Brady falling to the wayside, his last year or two. And Tom covered up a lot of deficiencies. And if he stayed there, they would probably still try to get away with covering up those deficiencies, right?
Yep.
But last year, bringing in a battered Cam Newton, and then bringing in a rookie quarterback this year, forced them to fix the pieces around in a hurry, and they did.
And they did.
You look at Hunter Henry's just crushing it. Like, the guy's unstoppable. Their wide receivers are coming along quickly. These guys were no names off the street.
I have no idea who they are.
Right? Jacoby Myers finally gets a touchdown last week after doing all this yeoman's work in the trenches, and they are a nice story for the league this year. So I know a lot of people don't want to see them back so quickly, but here they are. So that was a long-winded way to say I'm picking New England.
Are you sure?
Yeah, but I don't think it'll be a blowout.
Okay.
Although Atlanta, Cordarrelle Patterson's a game-time decision. If they don't have him, I don't give them much of a chance because they're already missing Ridley.
Right.
Now you're down Ridley and Patterson. All you got is the rookie Pitts, and their stable of running backs. And do they have much else? I don't know.
Yeah. Not really.
Yeah. So
I definitely think the Patriots are going to make. I was looking at the schedule the other day. I definitely think they're in for the playoffs for sure.
yeah.
I'm positive. I mean, I'm pretty confident about that.
To me, there are 2 stories that have been fun to track from week 1 to now, and one is the Patriots, the other one's the Dallas Cowboys. Just watching the rise of both of them.
Yeah.
So, all right. Wow. We spent like 45 minutes on one game.
I guess that was a story.
Yeah. No, the Patriots are quite a story this year. So,
Yeah, for sure.
let's get to Sunday, 1:00 on Fox. The 5-4 New Orleans Saints come to Philadelphia to play the 4-6 Eagles.
Gosh, talk about two teams that 11 weeks into that I have no read on either one of these. It's like, who are these teams? It's like the Eagles go from blowing people out to getting blown out. It's like, oh my gosh, they've been the cause of so many of my loss of picks. Every time.
Yeah.
And the Saints are so opposite of them. They're like, they do well on the road. I mean, even this I know they lost this game, but they gave the Titans everything they and I thought they should have won that game. There was a couple of calls that didn't really go their way, but I don't know. So going back and forth with how the Eagles did last week, so I'm going to pick them to lose this week since they won last week. So I'll go with the Saints. That's the only logic I have left with these teams.
I'm with you. This is a coin flip for both teams. I mean, no matter, yeah. The Saints should have won last week. They missed the 2 extra points and lost by 2 points,
that's two.
right?
Yeah.
Then again,
that's 2. Yeah.
That gets them into overtime. Who knows what happens from there?
Right.
But yeah, they're both schizo. And the Saints, Trevor Siemian. Do we really know what he is yet? I mean, he looks decent. He looks better than he did with the Broncos. We'll say that.
That's for sure. Yeah.
And you're right, Philadelphia. They're so schizo. They're so schizo. Like they're almost like the week you pick them to win, they lose. The week you pick they're in. I think I said it last week or maybe the week before. I don't think they can string 2 wins in a row. That's who they are.
I remember you said that.
So that said, I'm using your exact same logic. They won last week, so they're bound to lose this week. I'm going with the Saints because the Saints lost 2 in a row. They're bound to win, right? So
yeah, that's it.
That's the logic. So yeah, so we're same so far. Patriots with 2 road teams, New England and New Orleans.
That's true. That's 2 road teams. Yeah.
Next up, 1:00 CBS. The 3-7 Miami Dolphins travel to the Meadowlands to take on the 2-7 New York Jets, led by Joe Flacco this week.
Yeah, this is I had a lot of problems with this. I mean, I know the Dolphins did very well against Baltimore, but I have no confidence that they're going to just keep going like that. I just love the way their defense played against that on that Thursday game, but was it really, or was Baltimore just kind of flat? I don't know. This is a coin flip game for me too, but I don't see the Jets doing a lot. I could probably see this as like a 6-3 game maybe. So I'm just gonna pick the Dolphins, but not with a lot of confidence.
Okay. Yeah, I did get to watch this game on my flight.
Oh.
The Miami-Baltimore game. And Baltimore was all out of rhythm.
Okay.
But I think they were all out of rhythm because, and Troy Aikman kept pointing out, the Dolphins were like putting all their chips on like, their roulette wheel, and they put all their chips on like Black 7. And they just stacked them all there. And it kept working out. They were blitzing like on every single play.
I know.
And they were leaving the secondary. They would just line up the corners and the safeties 4 across and just take their chances in man coverage. And it was working. It just Baltimore never adjusted to that. It just kept working. So good for them. I mean, they did. They played a great spirited game. They did what they did last year. They got turnovers and special teams plays. I mean, they downed that one punt on like the half-yard line.
Yeah, half-yard line. Yep.
They did everything they did last year. That's how they won games last year.
That's unfortunately that doesn't happen every.
But you can't rely on that every week. That said, going up to the Meadowlands, the Jets on their 4th quarterback now this year.
Yeah.
Jets have no running game, pedestrian receivers, pedestrian quarterbacks, shoddy offensive line. Dolphins. Dolphins on the road, but you're right.
I just hope they keep doing just at least the defense playing well and letting the offense kind of develop. for the rest of the year. Just stay in games and see what happens. But,
a game like that though too could just suddenly flip the switch back on. Like the
it's
Dolphins
true.
were not. Neither of us thought they were going to be bad this year.
That's true.
We didn't think they were going to be bad this year, and
No,
they're really
no,
well coached. And Tua coming in relief actually looked like maybe that's what he needed to do. You know what I mean? He had to come in.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And save the game, right?
Yep.
And that might have given him a little boost of confidence that he needed, because all he's heard for the last month or so, we're going to go get Deshaun Watson. This guy might be a bust. We might have to go in a different blah, 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 blah. That's all he's been hearing. And I'm happy for him because he's a good kid.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I think Miami's just got more talent everywhere. And they're, I don't want to say the coach or the Jets don't have the coaching. The jury's out on that still. Got to give him more time.
Yeah, for sure.
But Brian Flores has been with Miami 3 years now. He knows what he's got. They know what he's about. I think they'll pull this one out. I think it'll be like a 17-10 kind of thing. But Dolphins. That's 3 road teams, and we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Next up, 1 o'clock, Fox. The Washington football team traveled to Carolina to take on Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, that was another kind of weird game. How the way Carolina didn't just beat Arizona, but they kind of just blew them out. And I mean, look, Arizona's a good team, but sooner or later that many injuries got to catch up to you. Not that I was good at predicting that. I still picked Arizona last week, but I guess in hindsight it wasn't that that weird, that with all the injuries that they have. And Carolina found McCaffrey's back. That's a spark. They might be getting a spark as well for having Cam Newton back. It certainly looks that way. And I know Washington had a good game as well, but with Carolina at home, I think they're going to pull this one out.
Carolina, Newton was involved in 8 snaps, and 2 of them resulted in touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's not what he used to be.
For sure, yeah.
But there's a comfort level, I think, being back there. And, he wasn't there with Matt Rule very long. So it's not like, oh, I'm back in my old system. That's not the case. But I think it's a comfort level of just being back home. I don't think he ever felt right in New England. And I don't think New England really used him properly.
Yeah, that's
They were running like a high school offense with him. It was weird. Washington, they pulled out a nice win this week.
Yeah.
That surprised me too.
Another incredible win.
But they lost their best player, Chase Young, for the year. So Washington is right up there with Philly as one of these schizoid teams. Because they have a lot of offensive weapons, and their defense is supposed to be, top 10. And they just haven't performed to that level this year.
Yeah.
I
think we finally saw that last week. Yeah.
Last week.
Yeah.
But I'm not confident enough to think they can repeat that. If they do this week, then maybe I'll start taking a closer look at them and take it a little more seriously. But I'm going to also go with Carolina at home on this one. Because McCaffrey, because even if Newton doesn't play and they play, what's the backup's name? I can't remember his name.
PJ Walker?
Yeah, Walker. Yeah. He played just fine.
He did well, yes.
He did well. I just think them at home, they're just a different team at home, Carolina. So, yeah, I'm with you. It's kind of a meh game. So
I know. It is.
Next up, 1 o'clock, CBS. The 5-5 Indianapolis Colts head to Buffalo for a big challenge against the 6-3.
Yeah, this
Bills.
looks like it'll be a good game because the Colts have, found a rhythm with that running game and the defense, and certainly the Bills. Well, I know it was against the Jets last week, but hey, you play who's on your schedule, and they did much more than what they had to do. So. The Bills at home, it looks like, I know they look like they run into some road bumps last couple of weeks, but I think they've righted the ship, and they're Josh Allen's playing back to like last year. Their defense, I think, is playing very well. So despite how good the Colts are, I think the Bills will pull it off at home.
Yeah. This is one of those games where I think again, for me, it comes down to the quarterbacks.
Well, there
Because
you
I
go.
think other than that, I mean, Buffalo doesn't have the running game the Colts do, but the Colts don't have the passing game Buffalo does, so that's a wash. Their offenses are each dynamic in their own way and almost unstoppable in their own way. And their defenses are on par with each other. So to me, it comes down to Josh Allen versus Carson Wentz. And Carson
Yeah.
Wentz is a
Well,
chucker. So I'm also going Buffalo at home. This is a tough game to call, though.
I think it is very tough. Yep.
It's a rematch of last year's wild card game that the Colts actually looked much better in, despite losing that
For
game.
sure. Yep. I remember.
If the Colts take that same game plan in there, they could upset Buffalo.
Yep.
So, but when the rubber hits the road, I got to go with Buffalo at home with Josh Allen over Carson Wentz on the road. That's the tiebreaker for me.
I was just gonna say, Tat, to your thing about the Colts. Like, if the Colts can put a lot of pressure early on Josh Allen and prevent him from like doing those rollouts where he escapes it, I think they can kind of hold. That's when the Bills kind of get in trouble a lot when that happens. When they don't even have a chance to get into that rhythm that they do. Then they run into a lot of problems. I remember they did that happen in the first week against Pittsburgh.
Yes.
They lost that game. So there is a way for the Colts, though, but they really gotta put them under tons of pressure, and then have their running game do the bulk of the work on their side.
Yeah, right. And if Buffalo cannot stop Jonathan Taylor and Naheem Hines, it's going to be a long day for them because Josh Allen will be watching the game.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that.
this is put a star next to this one. This is going to be one to watch for the week for sure. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts pull it out.
I wouldn't either.
Well, at least we picked the same one, so it's not like that's going to throw our little rivalry. Next up, 1:00 on Fox.
I know.
The 8-1 Detroit Lions. They won't lose all their games.
I know they won't.
Go to
I
Cleveland to take on the enigma that has become the Cleveland Browns.
I know. I'm sorry, but I know how bad the Browns are in terms of their injuries are piling up, and especially Mayfield. But I don't care. They'll let them put their third quarterback in. I can't see them losing at home against the Lions after getting killed last week, especially with the running game that they have. And well, I really can't say that the defense they're supposed to have, but I can't see them losing this at home against the Lions. Maybe if they went to Detroit, there would be something, but not at home.
Yeah. Boy, where do you even begin? Goff is not even. Goff's hurt too.
Oh right, yep.
So Goff's hurt. Mayfield's the dude is like duct taped together.
I know. It's true.
I cannot. I loved his quote. Did you see his quote this week? He said, "I'm more beat up than I ever have been in my life, but nobody gives a damn. So what's it matter?" Like he's just got such a great attitude. He's not going to whine and play the victim and blame his injuries for losing. He's just like, no, I'm hurt. Nobody cares. I still have to go out and play. The dude is a gamer. What he lacks in talent, he makes up for in heart all the way. That's why he's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. I love his spirit. He's a tough cookie. Yeah. Now they have trouble too. Now, so the whole reason OBJ and landed in Cleveland was because his good friend Jarvis Landry brought him.
Oh, that's right.
I thought that'd be such a great idea. Now that OBJ's gone, because Cleveland smartly just immediately said, we're not going to have disruption in this locker room. You're going to start this crap with your dad putting video. Get out. Bye-bye.
Yep.
Which apparently was a shock to Mayfield that they just let him go like that. Because Mayfield was trying to make it work, and all of a sudden OBJ's gone.
Yep.
Now Jarvis Landry's upset. Oh, this sucks. My buddy's gone. And now he's saying, oh, now I don't get the ball enough. Okay, here we go.
Oh, jeez.
Mission accomplished, OBJ. You blew up the locker room. So, yeah.
Boy, that's gonna be bad if they do. Oh,
So, yeah. Cleveland's in. They're a mess. I think their playoff chances are dwindling. That said, the Lions are going in there. So if you want to pick up a cheap, quick win, this is the week to do it.
yeah. I'm gonna say. I know it's not the end of the season yet, but they lose this game. That's it for me with them. I think that kind of just
Yeah. No, I don't think they will. In
forks
fact,
them.
what I would do is I would sit Mayfield because he's all beat up
Yep.
and
Yep.
play with Case Keenum. You'll still win the game. So
Oh, for
Browns
sure. Yeah.
at
Yeah.
home.
That's for sure.
Next up, 1 o'clock on Fox. The 4-5 49ers travel to Jacksonville to take on the 2-7
Yeah.
Jags.
This is kind of a replica of what we just talked about. Look, I was shocked. Like this was one of the things for me about 49ers and the Rams. That like I'm not surprised that the 49ers won the game, even though I picked the Rams. But it's just how they won. And I'm not even saying the score. I'm saying I haven't seen the 49ers offense do that a lot. They went on these like long 10, 8-minute drives, and the Rams defense was like, where are you? Like, you're letting this. And I haven't even seen the 49ers do this against other teams that aren't supposed to have a good defense. Where that came from this week, all of a sudden, I can only chalk it up to like they just match up well against the Rams. I can't say anything else about it.
Yeah,
But
didn't their last drive was like 10, almost 11 minutes long and 20 plays or something crazy like that?
Yeah. I was like, and if they're gonna, they're gonna find themselves playing like this, this is like that game against the Rams was the start of their kind of like playoff run, and they're certainly not going to lose that to Jacksonville. So 49ers.
Yeah, I'm saying 49ers on the road. They, I'm shocked they're 4-5. I mean, we all had them there.
Yeah,
I mean, they
too.
were a potential Super Bowl team at the beginning of the year. So they might have ironed out their troubles. They're on their way. This is a get to 500 now. You get to Jacksonville, it's almost one of those get well games.
Yeah.
Get to 500, you'll be 5-5 with 7 games to go. You're in really good shape.
Oh yeah, you're in great shape. Yep.
So and you're right. I mean, all of a sudden Kittle comes back. Maybe that was a part of the problem.
Yeah, that was definitely a big.
And they just and if they can control the ball like that against anybody, they'll win. They'll win all the time. If you keep your opponent offense on the sidelines for 10 minutes at a shot, you're that's a formula for success. Next,
I remember you saying a key to them was to have I know he wasn't playing, but their running game was right on perfect. Yeah.
which had been struggling without him,
Right.
without Mostert.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're interesting. Let's keep an eye on them for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Next up, 1 o'clock CBS, the 1-8 Houston Texans, who got their one win week 1 against the 8-2 Tennessee Titans, who had one of their losses week 1.
Week 1. Yeah. Oh, this looks like like the third game in a row that's almost alike that
Yeah,
way.
actually, was it Houston that beat them week 1?
It was the Jets.
Oh, that's right.
Wait, I don't remember the Jets winning.
Let me see. Let me go back to week
I remember
1.
the Jets being the Titans. I just don't remember it was the first.
Let's see. Who beat the Titans? No, the Cardinals beat the Titans week 1.
Oh, so they lost to them and the Jets.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Houston.
Oh, that's right. It was a blowout. Yeah.
Houston, who did they beat week 1?
Jacksonville, I think. I remember saying, Jacksonville's going to get their one win against Houston because they're in disarray.
Right.
I got that wrong.
So that's what it was. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I know, obviously we've talked a lot about Titans losing Travis Henry, but I don't think they need him.
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry. I don't think they're going to need him against Houston. And man, I looked at that Titans schedule the rest of the way. It has got to be the easiest schedule. And I think if they just keep their bearings and take every game seriously, they're going to have a straight road right to the number 1 seed because they have a really soft schedule starting this week with the Texans. They've gotten through the really hard schedule, beating everybody. So they got to just take these games seriously. Just put these teams away.
Yeah, they won what? They beat all these
The
really good
Bills,
playoff teams: the Bills, the
the
Chiefs, the
Chargers, the
Chargers.
Chiefs. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
yeah,
I think the Rams were in there too. I
yep,
believe. Wow.
yeah. That was the game they dominated Matthew Stafford. That guy Jeffrey Simmons was all over him.
Yeah. So ironically, not that I would never want a player injured, but they kind of lost him in the right spot because like, hopefully they can just cruise through with the lesser opponents until he comes back for the playoff run if he can.
If they don't get him back, though, they could be a number one seed and be one and done without him in the playoffs.
Correct. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true. Yep, that's true too.
yeah, I'm with you. I think that despite losing him, there's enough on the field to win this game. But this could also be a trap.
It could be.
After
But
running that gauntlet of 5 awesome teams, it could be like, let's just exhale and we got Houston, and then that's when you get punched in the face. So it is a division game after all. And
yeah, it is. Yep.
Houston has Tyrod Taylor back, do they not? Yeah, nah. Tennessee.
Still, it'll be an interesting story if that happens next week.
It will. Next up, another interesting story. The
Yeah.
8-2 Packers travel to Minnesota to take on the 4-5 Vikings. 1:00 on Fox.
And I thought I was saying how the Vikings are going to continue their trend of losing another close game. Well, they wound up winning one of those close games, and they showed they have talent on that team, and but I don't see that as a game that's going to start them like just on some kind of big run. I do see the Packers winning this game. The Packers, like, I don't know if enough people talk about how they've been under a lot of like injuries and just weird things happening with Rodgers not playing, and still, were they like 8-2 now?
Yeah, 8-2.
So I'm gonna pick them even though it's a divisional game and on the road.
Yeah, I was wrong. Of course, I was wrong.
We're all wrong.
Kirk Cousins not being able to pull out a close game at the end.
Well, sooner or later, I mean.
Yeah, a broken clock is still right twice a day, and every blind squirrel finds a nut, right?
Yeah, that Chargers defense is having a hard time now.
Yeah, they are. I mean, Cousins is having a good year statistically.
Yeah.
And they were complimenting him up and down on ESPN, the Chris Berman primetime, whatever they call that. That he's having a really good quiet year. Nobody's talking about him. Well, nobody's talking about him because he's having a statistical good year, but he's not winning football games.
He's not winning the games. Yeah.
Right. So just Booger McFarland and Chris Berman just stop with the Kirk Cousins. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers. Green Bay. I don't care who's injured on that team. Green Bay. On the road. Next up, 1:00, CBS. The Baltimore Ravens, 6-3, travel up to Soldier Field to take on the Bears at 3-6.
Yeah, the Ravens really had a hard time last week against the Dolphins. I see with the extra, almost kind of like having a bye week with the extra time. I'm sure they're going to right the ship here, and they're not going to lose 2 in a row. The second one against the Bears here, and I don't know. I see Fields. He's kind of chugging along. He's improving a little bit here and there. I don't see them like doing something big this year. Maybe next year. So I think the Ravens will take care of them this week.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Fields has shown a lot of progress. He does look better and better and more confident to be more importantly, more and more confident. The problem is, I think the coaching staff is subpar in Chicago. I have friends who are Bears fans who absolutely hate, what's the name of Matt? I want to call him Matt Rule. That's Carolina.
Nagy?
Matt Nagy, thank you.
Yeah.
Can't stand the guy. Want him out of town. So, yeah, I don't think the Ravens are so well coached. And for a team missing 16 of their regulars, even last week, you can just see that they're fearless. They don't change a thing. They don't change who they are.
Yeah,
no
they
matter
don't panic.
Who's in the lineup, you know what you're getting. And you're right, 10 days off. It's a mini bye. John Harbaugh will have this team ready. They're going to go in there and just take it out on a inferior Chicago Bears team. Ravens all the way. Next up, we're into the later games, 4:05 p.m. CBS. The 5-4 Cincinnati Bengals coming off their bye week travel to Vegas to take on the 5-4 Raiders. So one of these teams will be 500 at the end of this.
This was a very interesting game, which was hard to pick for me. Bengals coming off the bye, and last time we saw them losing to the Jets. And with the Raiders, you got to start thinking, is this going to be the start of again, just like last year, where it was like they were world beaters, and then they hit some kind of wall and somewhere in the middle of the season, and you never saw them again.
They were like 7-2 or something, weren't they?
Yeah.
And then they ended up 8-8. Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of things that happen kind of not off the field here with the Raiders, with the coach and the receiver, but geez, I'm kind of starting to wonder whether it's going to be the start of another Raiders decline. And I'm actually picking the Bengals. I'm not very confidently, though. I'm picking the Bengals coming off the bye, and but not that confident about it. I would have been more confident if the Bengals were at home, but I'm starting to get weary that the Raiders are starting their swoon again.
I hear everything you just said. In watching some of that Kansas City Raiders game last week, the Raiders seem to have lost, dare I call it, swagger. They don't look as footloose and fancy free as they did at the beginning of the year. They actually look like they're gripping the ball tighter. Yeah, it's just they seem a little out of sorts. Almost like doubt is starting to creep in.
Yeah.
You know, there was one play I just yelling to nobody. Deshaun Jackson.
Oh, okay.
Freshly signed to the team, catches this 52-yard bomb or something from Derek Carr. And instead of continuing to run forward, did you see this play?
Oh, yeah.
Stops on a dime and starts running backwards and around, like he runs backwards and tries to go around and fumbles the ball. And that was the game. That turned the whole game right there. It was over. And I was like, what? Yelling at the screen, what are you doing? Even at 36 or however old he is, he's still got world-class speed. He's still faster than almost everybody on the field. Just keep running straight. Carr landed the ball in stride. Why did he stop? And for a veteran like him, I was like, wow. It's like, but that was like, to me, emblematic of the fact that they're pushing too hard now. They're just trying to do more than they should. He should have just caught the ball, kept running straight. If he gets tackled there, he gets tackled there.
Exactly.
It's a 52-yard game. Instead, he tries to do that one or two extra things, fumbles the game away. So that shows that, like, that feels like they're pressing to me.
Yep.
That the tone of the team, and he's new to the team, and that like, so there's something weird going on there. So I'm also taking Cincinnati on the road. I think, coming off the bye, they have that explosive offense. I'm not confident in the pick either.
Right, I know it. Yeah.
I just don't like what I'm seeing out of the Raiders.
That's exactly what it is. Yep.
And just a quick side note on the Raiders before we move on. John Gruden filed a lawsuit this week against Roger Goodell. It pretty much, the language from his attorney is what we've been saying, that he was set up to be a fall guy for a much bigger issue that's being covered up to protect, I'm guessing, a lot of people.
Yep.
Including Goodell himself. And this lawsuit, it's interesting because Gruden's contract was for 10 years, $100 million, which is $10 million a year. He had 6 years left on it, or 5.5 years left on it. And so he lost potentially upward of $55 to $60 million, losing, just stepping down. Said he was forced out, of course. His lawsuit, he's only looking for, there's 7 counts or 7, I guess, 7 counts he's filing against Goodell in the league. And he wants $15,000 in reparations for each that he wins. So this is not about money. Because
right. It's definitely not about money.
It's not about money. If he's only asking for 15, I mean, it's a lot of money. 15,000 times 7, and
it's like 100,000, a little bit over 100,000, yeah. But still, nothing compared to
what he threw away, and the fact that they've tried to completely just eliminate him from existence.
Yeah,
taking his name off anything NFL related. Like he said, there were 650,000 emails. This was about investigating Washington and some of the things around the Washington football team, and instead it comes out, and it's, to me, it's one of those really bad cover-up jobs. They're covering something up when they find this by accident, and then they go, oh, well, that's it. It's all case closed. No, the actual investigation was this.
Right.
And you found this. And now you're saying, oh, now that we got this, all that is over.
All that
all goes away.
Yeah, we got the one.
Just kick the sand on it quick before people.
The one sacrifice we got, so we can put that away.
Right. Yeah. It's bullshit. I think Gruden's gonna really bring the house down, and I cannot wait to gloat to people that I told the day Roger Goodell was hired as commissioner that he was a piece of garbage and he was gonna ruin this league. He's a corporate weasel, and I told people that, and I bet it gets exposed, and he's gonna be out. And I hope it happens, because I cannot stand Roger Goodell. All right, next up, 4:25, Fox, the 8-2 Arizona Cardinals travel to Seattle to take on the 3-6 Seahawks.
Now, I was trying to read this again. Have they decided yet on Kyler Murray?
Kyler Murray, I just checked before we did this. He's this close, he said, to playing. But I don't know Edmonds, no D-Hop.
Yeah. This was a hard thing for me. I guess on the surface it shouldn't be hard after seeing the Seahawks get nothing against the Packers, get shut out. But they're at home and they're kind of desperate. And here's what I may be wrong, but my pick is based on this: that the Cardinals will be smart and keep Kyler Murray out again because they have a bye coming up again. And if you remember last year, they ran into the same issue where he got injured. They rushed him back, and guess what? He was never the same player again, and they probably never won again after. And that was the end of their. We all thought they were on a definite playoff run, and after that, his injury. And I thought they made a mistake bringing him back. So I think hopefully they learned their lesson, and they're going to keep him out. And then, of course, there'll be the bye week. So I'm actually going to go with the Seahawks here based on that.
Wow, No, that was excellent analysis.
Oh, okay.
That was perfect. That was a great analysis. I don't think they're going to be as smart as you. Okay. I think they're going to run him out there.
Damn.
You're smarter than them because you're spot on right. Last year he got hurt on the Hail Mary thing, and he was never the same again. And they missed the playoffs as a result.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right.
Let's see what happens. Yeah.
Maybe they'll keep him on a short leash this week.
Yeah, maybe.
Whether he plays or not, in my opinion, I think the Seahawks are due to have one of those Seahawk home games.
Yeah.
Where Wilson comes out. He struggled last week. I don't think the finger's totally right. He threw that horrible pick in the end zone.
Oh, but that was bad. Yeah.
Never quite had his timing right. Schedule was off. This week, I think he goes big to Lockett. He goes big to Metcalf. I think this week it's vintage Seahawks at home. I'm also going with Seattle at home.
Okay.
Whether Murray plays or not, I just have that feeling, that spider sense is going off.
Now I'm really, though, interested in what the Cardinals are going to do about Kyler Murray.
I think they should do what you said. I think they absolutely should. You run Colt McCoy out one more time. If you lose, you're still 8-3. You're still in.
Right.
And you're right. And you get the bye week, and then you can come back, and you'll have 6 games left with Kyler Murray at peak performance. So, but you know how it is these days, and they let their franchise quarterbacks make the decisions for them. We'll get to that in a bit too. But yeah, instead of come on, you're the head coach. You got to know what's best for your team, and you got to look at the big picture. You
definitely, yeah. That's the problem.
I think a lot of times they get caught up in the moment and the week to week. I mean, you see these guys, these coaches, they're so competitive that they're down by 10 with 45 seconds and they're still calling timeouts. So we got a chance here. No, you're down 2 scores with 45 seconds. You're done.
Yeah.
but they coach to the end, and that's how these guys think. They live in moments. They don't. A lot of them don't see the bigger. They're right there in the moment. We got to win this minute. We got to win this.
Yep.
So next up, and probably the game of the week, 4:25 on Fox. The 7-2 Dallas Cowboys travel to Arrowhead to take on the 6-4 resurgent Chiefs.
Yeah, it's hard for me to figure out what was happening with the Chiefs. Is it just a 1 week thing? Is it because the Raiders are just kind of falling apart? Did they look just like the Chiefs of like last year, the prime Chiefs of last year? And I don't mean the score. I mean like the big plays downfield, like
the execution.
Yeah, and that their offense wasn't contracted to like the 10 yards in front of them like it's been the last 4 or 5 weeks. So I'm like interested to see whether they kind of found that again, and was it just a one-time thing? I don't know. And that's and just for what you just said about the coach playing in the moment and wanting it. It's like there was some talk also about how the Cowboys, I don't know, they were like up 36-3, and they're still running, Prescott out there and Ezekiel. That was kind of dangerous. Just a note about how you just talked about that. That was kind of weird. Why they wouldn't have taken him out, but anyways, that's just a long-winded way of saying that. I think that I'm going with the Chiefs here. It might be a shock to you.
No, I mean, why would it be a shock? They're always tough at home. I don't know. They're always tough at home, and
they are. But this year they haven't been as. I don't. I'm more interested to see, is this a new trend they're starting, or is this was just a one-time thing because they caught the Raiders at a. I don't know. If it is a new trend, then they watch out. They may be like, back to their prime Chiefs of a couple years ago by the time the playoffs start, and then the other teams need to watch out.
I think as long as they're in competition for a playoff spot, teams need to watch out.
Yeah.
They know how to win. They know how to get to the big game. They know what they're doing. And, who knows? I mean, with the Chiefs, it could be the kind of thing where Mahomes and Andy Reid looked at the clock and said, oh, it's playoff push time. Enough with the nonsense.
Wow.
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, can a team really just turn it on like that? But that was a quality win on the road. I didn't have them. I had the Raiders. The Raiders played so good last year. That said, we finally have a different pick. I'm going with the Cowboys.
Okay.
Because I think the Cowboys can run all day long on the Chiefs. And that'll keep the ball away from Patrick Mahomes. Granted, if you give the guy 30 seconds and Tyreek Hill. However, I think Dallas's offense is potent enough, and Kansas City, they throw the ball a lot, and that Dallas secondary is dynamite. Trayvon Diggs had another pick last week, so I'm really curious. Micah Parsons is like on fire right now. I think Dallas goes in there and pulls one out, but I think it's going to be a really, really fun game to watch.
Yeah, I hope it is. I hope it's a fun game, not some kind of lopsided thing. But.
Yeah. Next up, and I'm sure NBC is kicking themselves for scheduling this one.
It's the Chargers.
The 5-3-1 Steelers travel to Los Angeles. Actually, they'll have a home game in Los Angeles against the Chargers at 5-4.
Yeah, that must have been a tough game for people to see that last week with Pittsburgh and Detroit. I mean, it was tough for me just following it. Like once in a while, I check the scores, and that was tough enough. Much less being in front of that stadium. What happened? I don't know. It's just crazy. The Charger. I know the home thing. I know we just said that's a wash, but I just think the Chargers just are more talented at this point, and they've had some tough losses the last couple of weeks, and I think they need to have a really good win here to try to get them back on track.
Yeah,
and I don't think that. I mean, I'm not saying anything bad against the Steelers, but I just don't think they have the offense to keep up with them.
Yeah, and they're not sure who's starting yet, Rudolph or Roethlisberger. It's looking like Rudolph, but Tomlin said he'll leave the light on for Ben. Okay. And again, going with these ideas that the quarterback gets to choose, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The story broke yesterday that the Steelers, or maybe it was this morning, that the Steelers will be open to bringing Ben back. It's going to be up to Ben. No.
Wow.
If you leave it up to Ben, he'll be there till he's 65.
Jeez.
You have to tell him he's done, because he's done. He looks terrible. And the sad part is, he's awful, and he's the best one they got. Yeah, they're a mess. To quote Craig Hooten, who YouTubers might know as Pittsburgh Dad, the Steelers have found a way to go 500 on a 17-game schedule. They'll probably they'll end up 8-1.
Imagine that.
Bunch of assholes. The Chargers, though, will be without Bosa this week because of COVID. So that's interesting. But I think you're right. I think the Charger offense is too much for the Steeler defense, which is overhyped, by the way. And TJ Watt's beat up, and Minkah Fitzpatrick is out with COVID.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And the Steeler offense just cannot. They will not match points with the Chargers when the push comes to shove. So I'll say Chargers on the road at home over the Steelers.
And the Steelers schedule the rest of the way. Wow.
And that was another point.
Opposite of the Titans,
Yeah, which was my point last week. Like, they needed to get that 6th win against Detroit because they're probably only going to win 2, maybe 3 the rest of the way. They have a horrible schedule the rest of the way. And this is the first one of many.
Yeah.
I think they're going to start. They're going to show who they are. They're a fraud. Next up, the improving 3-6 New York Giants travel to Tampa Bay to take on what happened? Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 6-3, 820. Oops, I left the NBC logo there. It's actually ESPN.
Oh, okay.
Whoops.
Right.
So, mistake there, but Monday Night Football.
Yeah, and we talked about how Washington beat the Bucs last week, and to me, this is like kind of like a. I even after watching, I didn't watch the whole game, but watching the highlights, it's like what happened? I mean, was it just the two? Was it two Brady interceptions
right away?
But to me, that tells me that you still have like almost the whole game to just write that, but that it didn't happen. Like the rest of the game,
yeah.
I was very like confused about that. Like it wasn't anything big like Brady going out on an injury or some other major injury or something like that. I mean, I know he had the 2 interceptions, but so what? That was at the beginning. So I don't know how they lost that game. What actually kind of was the key to that? And I know the Giants have been improving. They had the bye week, but I think they're gonna face a Bucs team that's kind of all riled up about last week, and especially the Bucs at home. So I'm gonna go with them.
Yeah. It just looked like Tampa Bay couldn't get on track. Like they were just out of rhythm the whole game. And
it was a lot like the Ravens-Dolphins thing too.
A lot like that. And it was, but weird because coming off a bye, Brady like career-wise is like 18-4.
Exactly.
Usually with 2 weeks to prepare for an opponent, which is why I gave them the edge.
Yeah.
Not just the edge. I mean, they're playing Washington, who hasn't looked good at all this year. But I think you're right. The Giants are going to hang in there.
Yeah, I think they will.
But I think Tom Brady also never like loses 2 games in a row. That's really, really rare. So, it's the kind of thing where he played poorly last week. He spent extra time practicing this week. He spent extra time in the film room this week. They're not gonna stumble again. So I got Tampa Bay at home as well. So that.
And I feel bad for the Giants because they do seem to be improving. They're still getting hit with the injuries, but it's like if they hadn't gotten off to such an awful start, I think they could have, and still may have done something this season.
Yeah. Yeah, and, if they can get to 500 or so or close to by the end of the year, I think that's a step in the right direction. But we'll see. Checking the playoff picture real quick. So the Titans stay at the top in the AFC. The Packers slide into the top spot now with Cardinals falling to number 2. The Bills get up to the 2nd seed. Ravens drop to the 3rd. Cowboys jump into the 3rd. And we got the Chiefs.
Yeah, with that Bucs loss, yep.
Chiefs go way up to the 4th spot from being out.
That's crazy. That's like
Pittsburgh gets a tie against the Lions and still moves up a spot. Patriots jump to number 6, and the Chargers slip 4 spots. They swap with the Chiefs, essentially.
basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And the Rams, who were trying for the number 1 spot, are now in the 5th
the Rams are 5th. Yeah. So the Buccaneers dropped a spot. The Rams still in 5th from the week before. Saints still in 6th from the week before. And the Panthers and the Vikings swapped spots. The Vikings are now out on the bubble.
Yeah, the Saints, after losing 2 tough games, still very much in it.
Very much in it. So they're your bubble teams. The AFC, you got Cincinnati, Raiders, Colts, Browns, and Broncos. In the NFC, you got Vikings, Niners, Falcons, and I guess you could say the Eagles. I guess. And they're 4 and 6. But
I mean, really, it's the Vikings and the 49ers are really the big thing.
Maybe Atlanta, but I don't know.
I know, but they can't sustain a winning streak or anything like that.
I agree. So that's what that looks like this
Wow.
week as
Okay.
we march toward the postseason. So
Yep.
that's it for me. You got anything else?
No, I'm waiting for a week to kind of be right side up. It's been 2 upside down weeks for me, and it's it does make it interesting. But just waiting for one of those early, weeks where we kind of just got most of them right, and things that went as we expected, but not the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, we only have one game different, and that's Dallas, Kansas City.
Oh, okay.
So
That'll
I'll
be the
either
key
end
one.
up 2 games behind you or 4 games behind you. So we'll see.
Yeah, I just like to see what's going to happen in general, like because there's a lot of games that seem kind of like no brainers, but with the NFL, you really can't say that.
No, you can't. But let's see what you have to say out there, folks. Send in your picks and let us know what you think and tell us how stupid we are, because we know we're
You
stupid.
could definitely do that.
Yeah. Again, you can find us on the socials at GeekTimeNet. That's Facebook, Insta, and Twitter. And we just started a couple channels on Rumble. Not much there yet, but there will be. Don't be patient. There's only so many hours in the day, and we're getting to it.
Yep.
This will be our second video on there, and we'll start working on the other channels in due time. But that's our future plan to kind of migrate, or at least have it there. And,
Well, just have
so
it
when
there,
YouTube decides they don't like us anymore, we'll have somewhere else to be.
Who knows? Maybe maybe YouTube will just start liking us again.
Maybe. Who knows? Please like, share, subscribe, comment, all that jazz and nonsense and whatnot, and tell your friends, because this is strange, and we were at like 5,000 view hours. We're just over a year old, so we got the view hours we needed and then some, but we're stuck around 335 subs all the time.
I know. So
it just won't move.
How it just goes up.
98% of our viewership are non-subscribers, so please. You don't get spam. Just hit the button.
Yep.
Just
no spam.
Hit the button, and that's all you need to do. Nothing else happens. If you want to hit the little bell, then you know when we have new content. You can do that, but you don't have to do that. Just please hit the subscribe. Man, it just doesn't make sense. 98% of our viewing audience not subscribed. So bizarre.
It is bizarre.
It is. It's almost as bizarre as the Steelers tying the Lions.
It just this whole season kind of makes sense with Detroit, because it's like they came so close to winning some games, and we're always like waiting for them to get that first win, but no, it happens to be a tie.
And it was a tie because they missed an extra point.
Oh,
which was
that's
another
right.
plague last week with kickers. If they hit the extra point, the Steelers lose that game.
Oh, that's right, and the Saints were plagued with that too.
Yeah. So, and real quick, by the way, Najee Harris said he didn't know a game could end in a tie. This seems to be every year when there's a tie.
Every year, someone comes out.
There's players who don't know this, and it's really interesting. And he said he wanted to play until there was a winner, and I totally agree with him. Play until there's a winner.
I agree with him too.
If they get tired, that's on them. They should have won the game in regulation. A tie just kind of wrecks the whole thing. It wrecks the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, you got 53 people on your roster. Start putting them in.
That's it. That's it. If you want to end the game, win the game. So, I think they should play till like all the other sports. Just play until there's a winner.
Yeah.
Enough. Except hockey. Hockey has ties. Worse, they have ties and then they have a shootout for the tie. So, if you tie in hockey, there is a point system in hockey. You get 2 points for a win, 1 point for a tie, and no points for a loss.
Right.
So if you tie the game, you each get a point, and then if you win the game in the shootout, you get the extra point. Whatever.
So
but
they
it
go
doesn't
to a
count
shootout
as a loss.
Wait. So it's documented as a tie, but then you still go to the shootout?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
And whoever wins
Yeah.
the shootout gets the win, but you
I
don't
learned
get a
something.
loss.
Okay.
You get a tie.
Okay. Wow.
You get the win, but you don't get the loss. It's
Yeah.
It's bizarre. I think they need to retool that a little bit. So, but that's for a hockey show that we never had. Thanks, Jeff. You were supposed to do a hockey show.
We're still waiting for that one.
Waiting for your hockey show, Jeff.
Oh, man.
All right. That's it for me. Is that it for you?
Yeah, that's it for me.
All right. Good luck with your picks, everyone. We'll see you next week for Week 12. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up below. Also, please subscribe to GeekTime TV. It really helps us grow the channel. And make sure you hit that bell icon in order to receive notifications every time we drop new content here. You can also check us out on social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at GeekTimeNet. Thanks again for watching. We will see you soon.
Say, kids, what time is that?